Wow, thank you. I can just see the headlines in tomorrow's paper. Pope visits Baptist church. All right, I can see it now. I do live in District 16. Funny enough, you'll never guess where I live with the last name Pope. I live in Parish, okay? I live in Parish. First of all, I want to thank you, Sue, for having me. We've had some great conversation. A big round of applause for Sue. Thank you again for having me. Talk a little bit about Hardee. I'm going to talk a little bit about Washington, and then I'm going to have my closing. But before I get started, are there any former veterans, any military out here in the audience? If you are, please stand. Big round of applause for our military. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Me also being a former Navy veteran. Well, I am truly honored to stand before you today, not as a career politician, but as a father, a husband, a veteran, a former law enforcement officer, and an American who still believes our best days are still ahead of us. I've spent my entire life serving others. I proudly served in the United States Navy. I spent 14 years in law enforcement, protecting our communities and making decisions under pressure where accountability mattered and excuses meant nothing. I later spent decades in executive leadership overseeing complex operations, managing crisis situations, and being responsible for the safety and livelihoods and trust of countless people and families. I also dedicated years studying leadership, criminal justice, organizational decision-making at the doctoral level, because I believe leadership is not simply about holding a title of leadership. It's about responsibility, accountability, and service. And that is exactly why I am running for Congress. I recognize the responsibility that comes with seeking to represent this district. Congressman Vern Buchanan has spent years building relationships, supporting veterans, strengthening our economy, and ensuring this district had strong conservative voice in Washington. I respect what he has built here, and I believe the people of this district deserve someone prepared to continue the fight for those values with the same commitment to service, accountability, conservative principles, while also bringing real-world leadership experience and a fresh perspective to the challenges ahead. I'm running because I believe America is at a crossroads, not politically, but morally, economically, and culturally. American people are exhausted. I believe they're tired of the political theater replacing real leadership. Tired of excuses replacing accountability. Tired of politicians dividing Americans instead of solving problems. And tired of elected officials who spend more time protecting political careers than protecting the people they were meant to serve. The people of this district are not asking for anything unreasonable. They want safe communities. They want secure borders. They want economic opportunity. They want accountability. They want leaders they can trust. They're not asking for chaos. They're not asking for political slogans. They're asking for common sense. Ronald Reagan once said, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction." That warning matters today more than ever. We are watching Americans lose faith in institutions that were designed to serve them. We are watching government grow larger while accountability grows smaller. We are watching politics become more focused on power than people. I believe we restore confidence in this country the same way we restore confidence anywhere else. Through strength, discipline, integrity, and leadership rooted in service. That means supporting law enforcement. It means securing our border. It means defending the Constitution. It means protecting parental rights. It means restoring fiscal responsibility. It means remembering that government exists to serve the American people, not the other way around. But strength alone is not enough. Strength must also be guided by wisdom, discipline, and compassion. As a husband and father of 5, I think often about the country we are leaving the next generation. I don't want my children or anyone's children growing up in a country where leadership is defined by division, weakness, or political ambitions. I'm not running to be part of this political class. I'm running because after a lifetime of service, I believe our country desperately needs leaders who understand sacrifices, responsibility, and accountability. Leaders who have lived in the real world, faced real consequences, managed real crises, signed the front of paychecks, and understand what everyday Americans are dealing with every single day. And I ask you this, what qualities should we demand from the people we send to Washington? Should leadership be measured by political connections or endorsements, or by a lifetime of service and accountability? Should we continue sending career politicians to solve problems they help create? Or is it time for leaders who understand duty, responsibility, and the real world struggles facing Americans today? Because I believe the people in this country deserve better. And I believe together we can restore confidence in our institutions, restore common sense in government, strengthen our communities, and preserve the American dream for future generations. With that being said, I want to say this. I haven't been elected to Congress yet, okay? But I've already created what I have, what's called the Florida First Agenda. Everybody's got a card. I've been working on this my entire life up to this point. So what I want to discuss is what I bring to District 16. And I've categorized it. You have a brief idea. You can go to my website. You can check it out. But first and foremost, supporting our veterans. Ensuring our veterans get the care, benefits, and respect they deserve. Support mental health resources and smooth transition to civilian life. How would I know this? You know why I know this? Because I served in the United States Navy. I am a disabled veteran. I know the problems that veterans are going through every day. I'm a disabled veteran. I can tell you firsthand the problems that are going on. The other candidates can't. Back the public safety and the blue. Give support. Fully fund law enforcement. Give officers the tools, training, resources they need. Support policies and keep our communities safe. How would I know any of this? I served 14 years in law enforcement. I was one of the most decorated troopers in the history of the Highway Patrol. I served in the city of Gulfport as well. I have 9 life saves under my belt. Okay? I put my life out there to save others. Growing small businesses. Cut taxes. Reduce red tape. Support Main Street business. Create jobs. Promote free enterprise and economic opportunity. How do I know about this? 26 years ago, while I was working as a state trooper, wasn't making much money, needed another job. And I was very fortunate to run into someone who allowed me the opportunity to make some additional income. And I started out as a medical courier. Small little office, probably no bigger than the men's bathroom. And 26 years later, I made it one of the largest logistic medical companies in the state of Florida. We currently deal with every medical institution from the Panhandle all the way down to Miami, all the way into Orlando. I've got 7 other locations around the country. Okay? Who did I hire? Veterans. Okay? Former law enforcement. I was out there trying to get people out there, giving them jobs. I know how it is. I struggled. I was there. My other candidates can't say that. Protecting our coast and waterways. Keep our beaches and bays and waterways clean and healthy. Invest our infrastructure and stormwater improvements. I believe you spoke about that before. Support Everglades restoration, responsibly conservation. I have already met with a lot of the not-for-profit environmentalists out there and try to formulate game plans so that when the time comes, and I'm going to say when I get elected, that I can start implementing a lot of these things from day one. The thing is that what I bring to the table, I'm prepared to start day one if elected for Congress. I've got a 30, a 60, a 90-day plan already in place. Being elected to the position of Congress should not be a learning experience, okay? Day one, it's ready to punch in and do your job, and that's what I'm about. Protecting our seniors. defend Social Security and Medicare, support affordable health care and prescription drugs, ensure seniors can live with dignity and security. I'm dealing with it right now. I've got a dad right now that unfortunately I had to put him in the hospital just this week. So I'm dealing with the insurance issues and everything that goes around with that as far as affordability. Where does he go? How do I get him the best care? Fiscal responsibility and accountability. Stop wasteful Washington spending. Balance the budget. Be a strong voice for taxpayers and hold government accountable. Use that as a cheat sheet. I strongly urge you when you get a chance to visit the website. A lot of that information is on there. So let's get and talk a little bit about Hardee County. Obviously, DeSantis changed the lines and the game plan kind of changed a little bit for us. But I've had the unique opportunity to talk and work with a lot of people in Hardee and DeSoto. I had a great opportunity to talk to one of your county commissioners who's actually in the audience right now. Believe it or not, farms, agriculture, okay? I talked about the 90-day plan, 30-day plan. I'm showing it to you right now. This is the first time I'm showing it to anybody. It's here, okay? I'm not talking fluff. I'm dead serious, okay? I've come up with called a Heartland Agriculture Initiative labor farm plan for DeSoto, Hardee, and Polk County. It's here, okay? I've got it right here. I understand the hardships and things that are going on. We talked a little bit about AI and what's going to happen. You know, I'm a fighter. I've always been a fighter, okay? People come to Florida for a lot of reasons. They come to enjoy the beaches. They come to enjoy the sun. They come to enjoy some of the parks. They come to enjoy what nature has to offer. And we want to preserve that. And we want someone that's going to be in there that's going to fight to keep those things in place. I'm going to transition now because I'm just trying to make sure I get everything within the 20 minutes. Otherwise, she's going to give me that dirty look. So let's talk about Washington real quick, and then I'm going to get into my closing. I adopted 2 little girls, okay? And I can tell you right now, as a father and as a police officer, I have zero tolerance for any type of sexual crimes, whether it be rape, sexual assault, sexual misconduct. My 2 daughters were the victims of sexual crimes at the age of 4 and 5 in foster care. Why do I tell you this story? Well, there's a lot of things going on in Washington right now. A lot of people talking about the Epstein files. As far as I'm concerned, there are no double standards of law. You either did it or you didn't do it. So, you know, I've come up with some questions that I think what you should do is when you have the opportunity and you're talking to these other candidates, I think you need to be blunt. I think you need to ask them these questions. Why do I ask you to ask them these questions? Well, based on the endorsements that some of these people have received. So some of the questions I would ask is, do you support full public release of all non-classified Epstein-related records and documents so the American people can know the truth, regardless of who may be implicated politically or financially? I think that's a question that needs to be asked. Do you believe justice should be applied equally to every American, whether they are wealthy donors, celebrities, political insiders, or former governmental officials? If you're elected, would you be willing to oppose members of your own party or political allies if evidence showed corruption, misconduct, or abuse of power? Do you believe Congress has a constitutional duty to investigate allegations of misconduct and corruption independently from political influence, regardless of who may be embarrassed politically? Do you believe political leaders should pressure elected officials out of office simply because they ask difficult questions or demand great transparency? Look what's happened to some of our congressional Republican congressmen right now. They're being forced out of office. Why? Because they don't want to remove their names from the petition for the Epstein file documents to be released. Would you stand with the Constitution and the rule of the law, even when doing so may be politically unpopular within your own party? There's a difficult question. Why should voters trust candidates who appear more loyal to political power structures than to transparency, accountability for the American people? My last question is, to something to think about, is if party leadership or major political figures pressured you to stay silent on an issue involving corruption or misconduct, would you comply? Would you stand with your constituents and demand answers? So these are some of the questions that I think people need to think about. My dissertation that I did my doctorate on was the impact of social media on law enforcement. And you'd be surprised when you interview 50 police officers and you ask them, how does that impact your job? If I was to write a book on it, you would be in disbelief. We've had law enforcement now that have become very proactive, and we've transitioned to a very reactive response. And a lot of it is because of what we see in social media. Social media is force-feeding us information, telling us who we should vote for, who we shouldn't vote for. We've gotten away from doing our own research. We need to look at our candidates. We need to look at their resumes. You know, back in the days when the gladiators were around, you didn't send your weakest soldier or gladiator to fight for who you represented. You sent your strongest, the smartest, the most talented, the most skilled. Well, look at their accomplishments. There's an old saying that says this: if you want to determine what someone's able to achieve, just look at what they have accomplished. And that's a very simple thing to ask. Just look at your candidates and ask them, well, what have you accomplished? You've heard some of the things that I've done, and there's more, okay? I've done a lot of volunteer work, okay? I'm a member of Disabled American Veterans. I volunteer a lot of time in youth sports. I volunteer a lot of time at Special Olympics. I've created programs for, in fact, Florida Highway Patrol never had one. It was Shop with a Trooper. Shop with a Trooper was a program I came up with where when you had families that were encountering either drug problems or alcohol problems and they've had no jobs, they're really trying to get back on their feet, I worked with the Homeless Coalition to try to recruit some of these families, and they had to meet a certain criteria that they were trying to find a job and they were staying clean. And basically I wrote the grants, I got the money, and what we did was we selected families and we took them out for Christmas. We filled their refrigerators with food. We bought them a Christmas tree. We allocated money so that the kids could buy for the parents could buy for the kids. And it was just such a great experience. And every year, I got more and more people involved in it. In fact, my own kids. And it really made them embrace what we've been missing, and that's that nuclear family. And I mean from the heart what I say. I'm not a career politician, okay? I'm a regular person. I had a great conversation today with one of your county commissioners, and I talk about sitting down and breaking bread, you know, and just talking it out. And I think at the end of the day, if we can learn to just communicate with each other, I think we'd be in a better place. So that's all I have to say. I'll be here. If anybody has any questions, you let me know. Can I do good? 20 minutes? All right.